The Pokemon games, outside of Gen 7, each have their own set of Pokemon gyms. And while they all follow a similar formula, you walk in, battle some trainers, solve a puzzle, and fight the leader, some really stand out more than others. I'm talking about the ones you actually remember, not just because of the battle, but because of how they're designed, whether it's a clever puzzle, a unique theme, or just something completely different. Some gyms go above and beyond, which is always interesting when a gym design stands out, especially if you consider how many gyms of each type there have been throughout Pokemon history. So today I wanted to take a look at some of what I believe to be the most creative and best themed gyms in Pokemon. I'm going to be picking what I believe to be the best designed gym from each game and talk about what makes them so memorable. Alright, let's start with red, blue, and yellow, and a pretty unique one, Blaine's gym in Cinnabar. At first, it looks like a fairly plain gym. Boring, nothing going on. There's not really anything that immediately stands out that would indicate that this is a fire-type gym. But instead of just battling your way through, you get to answer quiz questions to progress. And I like this idea because it immediately makes the gym feel different from the other Kanto gyms. Instead of just testing your Pokemon like a lot of them do, it's kind of testing you. You can skip trainers if you get answers right, or fight them if you don't, which is a nice little twist on the usual formula. But what makes this gym work even better is how it fits Blaine himself. Blaine isn't just a fire-type gym leader, he's known for someone who likes riddles and quizzes and brain teasers. So having his gym revolve around knowledge instead of just battles, it makes a lot of sense. It gives his gym a bit more personality instead of just being the fire gym. Now the questions themselves, they're not that difficult. They're clearly for new players, people who are new to Pokemon in general, but the idea behind it is what makes it memorable. It's one of the first gyms that really tries to do something different, and that's what makes it stand out. Alright, next up is Gen 2 Johto. And this one, it's going to be a little biased, but I'm going with Pryce's gym. I've always really liked ice puzzles and ice types. This one, of course, is built around the classic sliding ice tiles, where once you start moving, you don't stop until you hit something. And it sounds simple at first, but you actually have to slow down and think about your path. You can't just walk straight to the leader. It's not overly complicated, but it's just tricky enough to feel satisfying when you figure it out. I remember being stuck in the ice cave and in this gym's puzzle, trying to get to Pryce, and I was trying to solve these on the school bus. I was really happy when I finally figured it out, and that'll always stick in my memory. So, slipping around, unpredictably, fits the ice gym very well. And Pryce gets to watch a show while he's waiting for you to get to him. Wow, what an idiot. It's not flashy or over the top, it's just a straightforward test of whether you can figure it out. Now for Gen 3 Hoenn. And this is where gyms are able to really capture that theme because of the graphical improvements. I think they've gotten really into a groove now. And for these games, I'm going with Sootopolis City's gym. Yes, there are ice cubes, so that's a plus. At first, it can look similar to Pryce's gym. You've got ice tiles, but there's a catch. Every tile cracks when you step on it. And if you step on it again, it breaks completely, and you fall. Not very safe. So, one wrong move, and you get to walk all the way back up. So it's not just about figuring out where to go, it's about planning your entire path before you even move. You can't just react as you go, you have to think ahead, and this adds a level of tension that most gym puzzles don't really have. Every step feels important. Another simple idea, but it's one of those gyms that once you've done it, you don't really ever forget it, and that's what good gym design is all about. Next is Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, and I feel like this is where things start to get a little more interesting, and it's kind of hard to pick. But I'm going with Fantina's gym in Hearthome City. Right away, this one's got theme. The gym is almost entirely dark, and you're navigating it with a little light. So instead of seeing the whole room, you're only seeing what's directly in front of you, where you have to move between rooms by answering questions. You've got to move carefully and try to figure out where to go, and at the same time, there are other trainers hiding in the darkness like little creepy weirdos. And you don't really see them until you're right up next to them. So you gotta use your memory to try to remember what's around you, and which way you've already gone. It also fits Fantina really well, since she's very dramatic and theatrical, and the whole gym feels like a performance. So instead of just giving you a maze to solve like Gardenia's gym, this gym creates a good memorable experience. So for Heart Gold and Soul Silver, a lot of gyms were redone in the remakes, and I think in these games, I would change to Clair's gym. And I think the remakes did her gym a lot of good. In the originals, her gym was pretty basic. Now you're moving across these raised platforms over lava, using switches to control the paths and figure out how to reach her, and it immediately feels like a real challenge. Definitely a better puzzle, where you actually have to navigate the space. It also gives the gym itself a lot more personality. Clair is supposed to be this powerful dragon-type leader, and the new design makes it feel like you're actually working your way up to her, so even though it's not the most complex gym overall, and I think one of the main reasons it's memorable is because of how much of an improvement it is from the original. Real quick before we continue, if you're enjoying this video so far, please be sure to drop a like. And if you like Rabombi, make sure to follow the channel as well. If you don't like Rabombi, let's just keep that to ourselves.
チャンネルを購読するのがあなたにとって最善の利益となるでしょう。さもなければ私はあなたを説得しなければならず私は非常に説得力があります。
For Pokemon Black and White, almost every gym is good. I feel like the Unova games have some of the most unique gyms in the series. But for Black and White in particular, I'm going to go with Elesa's gym in Nimbasa City, because this one doesn't feel like a puzzle in the traditional sense at all. Instead of navigating a maze or solving something step by step, you're riding a roller coaster to move through the gym. And the way it's designed, it feels completely different than anything that came before. You're constantly moving and jumping between tracks and changing directions and figuring out where each path leads, and it gives the whole gym a fast, energetic feel, which fits that electric type theme perfectly. It's flashy and it stands out immediately. This is one of the few that doesn't just give you a puzzle. It's another experience, and that's why it works so well. For Black 2 and White 2, I'm going to go with one of the gyms that's different, and that is Roxie's gym in Burbank City. Because instead of focusing on a puzzle at all, this gym is just about the atmosphere. It's literally just a concert stage. You've got speakers, kind of dingy, band members, and Roxie herself performing while you make your way through and battle these other two band members. And what I like about this one is that it feels like an actual place. It feels like you walked into a live show that also just happens to be a gym. It really gives Roxie a lot of personality, and the music even builds as you go, which makes the whole thing feel more alive. So instead of testing you with movement or logic, this gym stands out because of its identity. I feel like they put a lot of effort into the Unova gyms, and I really like a lot of them. Next up is Pokemon X and Y, and this one stands out for a completely different reason. Valerie's gym in Laver City. This one isn't really about a complex puzzle. It's again all about how it looks and feels. The entire gym is designed like a giant dollhouse, and you move from room to room, and each one feels like its own little set piece, almost like you're walking through a miniature world. I don't even gotta say it. This one's pretty unique. A lot of gyms are either just puzzles or battle gauntlets, but this one leans heavily into the aesthetic. Fairy types are usually associated with something whimsical or magical. The dollhouse design almost feels slightly creepy, like it's trying to be cute, but there's also something strange about it. Just like Valerie herself, and the gym really reflects that personality. So even though the gameplay itself isn't super complex, the overall design is really good. It commits so fully to its theme that you remember it anyway. Now again, I'm going to change my answer for the Gen 3 remakes, and this one is interesting because the remake changes this gym quite a bit. The Moss Deep City gym, Tate and Liza's gym, in the remakes they completely rework it. You're moving across these glowing platforms and arrow tiles that control your direction.
Think of a wonderful thought, any merry little thought.
And it makes the whole thing feel a lot more dynamic. You're still figuring out how to reach the center, but now it's more about reading the layout and planning your movement instead of just trial and error. I mean, it's a little bit of trial and error, I guess, but it looks a lot cooler, and it doesn't feel as much that way, and it still fits that psychic type theme very well. The modern design looks really good. Everything's smoother, easier to read, and a lot more visually engaging. They took an older concept and made it feel fresh. Now I know Sun and Moon don't actually have gyms, but if I had to pick one of the challenges that stands out the most, I would go with Mimikyu's Trial, because this one feels way closer to those classic gym experiences than most of the others. You're moving through this abandoned site, and the whole thing has a really eerie atmosphere. There are moments where things move when you're not expecting it, and it creates a good sense that something isn't quite right, and that works for the ghost theme and Mimikyu. It's not just about battling. It feels like the game is trying to mess with you a little bit, and I think it ends up being the most interesting challenge in the game. So even though it's technically not a gym, this is probably the closest thing Alola has to a really well-designed one. So that's what I'm going with. Now for Galar, we're back to gyms again. Not all of them are the traditional style of gym, but for this game, I'm going to go with Nessa's gym in Hulberry. And what I like about this one is how clean and focused it is. The entire puzzle revolves around controlling the water levels. You're hitting switches to raise or lower the water, which opens up new paths while blocking others. And this is another pretty simple idea, but it's executed really well. Everything's easy to understand and you can clearly see how your actions affect the layout, and it isn't too confusing, and it's just kind of a satisfying puzzle to do. A proper puzzle without being annoying. Water blasting everywhere, which makes the whole gym feel cohesive, and it's one of the gyms I remember a lot more than some of the other Galar gyms where you kind of do a basic challenge. And then we have Paldea, which does have gyms, but not really the same kind of gyms. Instead of puzzles inside the gym, you get these gym tests beforehand. I'm gonna be honest, they're okay. So if I had to pick one that stood out the most, I guess I'd go with Iono's, because even though it's not a traditional puzzle, it does really commit to its theme. You're basically taking part in one of her live streams. You're looking around the city, trying to find Director Clavel hiding in different spots. Pretty simple, but it fits Iono pretty well, since she's a streamer and very high energy. It's less about figuring something out and more about just being part of that experience, which is kind of what modern Pokemon has shifted towards. So while it's not the same kind of design as older gyms, it still stands out because it fully commits to the idea behind it. So there you go. Those are what I think are the best designed gyms in each Pokemon game. Let me know what your favorite gym is in the comments, and follow my channel for more Pokemon.